The storm didn't fall, it attacked. Snow drove sideways, hard enough to strip breath from a man's lungs. The world disappeared. No sky, no ground, just white, moving, alive. Elias Crow leaned into it, one hand gripping the rope stretched tight between his barn and cabin, the only line that still made sense in a world that didn't. Step, pull, step. Each movement measured, controlled, because out here one mistake wasn't pain, it was death. He had checked the animals, secured the doors, done everything a man could do. Now he just had to make it back. The rope jerked hard in his grip, the storm shifting, angrier now. And that's when he saw it. Not clearly, not at first, just something wrong. A shape, still, in a world where nothing stood still. Elias stopped, squinting through ice-clung lashes. There, near the cottonwood at the edge of his land, something dark, half buried. His jaw tightened. No one crossed this land in a storm like this, not unless they didn't understand it, or didn't have a choice. He should have turned back. That's what a smart man would do. Go inside, close the door, let the storm take what it wanted. But Elias Crow had never been a man who ignored what he saw. He released the rope. The storm hit him full. No guide, no line back, just instinct and stubbornness. Each step forward harder than the last, snow dragging at his legs, cold clawing into his chest. The shape grew clearer, closer. A person, down, not moving. He dropped to one knee beside her. Her hair, black, spread against the snow like ink. Her skin pale, too pale. He touched her neck. There, a pulse, weak, fading, still alive. "Damn fool," he muttered, but there was no anger in it, only something else, something sharper. He slid one arm under her shoulders, the other beneath her legs, lifted her. She weighed almost nothing, too light, like the storm had already started taking her apart. He turned, back toward where the cabin should be, but there was nothing there. No shape, no outline, no direction, just white. He adjusted his stance, turning his body to shield hers from the wind. Instinct, not thought. Then he walked, step by step, through something that didn't want him to survive. The storm forced its way inside with him, snow swirling across the floor before the door slammed shut behind them. Silence. Not quiet, just less violent. Elias moved quickly now, laying her down near the hearth. The fire was low, barely holding. He fed it, fast. Dry wood. More, then more. Flames rising, fighting back the cold. For a second, he just stood there, dripping, breathing hard, looking at her. She wasn't dressed for this, not even close. Her coat, frozen solid, clinging to her. If he left it, she'd die. Simple. His hands moved, not gentle, not rough, efficient, breaking ice from fabric, peeling away frozen layers until there was nothing left to trap the cold. She shivered, weak, barely there. A sound slipped from her lips. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. He wrapped her in his blankets, thick, heavy, pulling them tight around her. Then he took her hands, cold, too cold. He rubbed them between his palms, harder than comfort, like he could force life back into them. "Stay with me," he said, low, rough. Her head shifted slightly, eyes fluttering, not opening, but not gone. That was enough. The fire burned strong now. The storm still raged outside, but it couldn't reach them here. Elias sat back on his heels, watching her, not out of kindness, not out of curiosity, because now she was his responsibility. And something about that didn't sit right. People didn't just appear out of storms, not like this, not half dead and alone. Because whatever had driven her into that blizzard had to be worse than the storm itself. And Elias Crow knew one thing for certain: storms always passed. But the things chasing people into them never did. Morning didn't come gently. It forced its way in. The storm hadn't passed. It had only changed shape. Less violent. More patient. Inside the cabin, the fire still burned. Low, steady, holding the cold at bay. Elias Crow was already awake, sitting near the hearth, watching. Not the door, not the storm, her. Leanne lay beneath the blankets, still, too still, her breathing shallow, but even, alive. That was more than he expected last night. He leaned forward slightly, studying her. Her hands no longer blue. Her face less pale. But something else had changed. She wasn't lost anymore. She was thinking, slowly, carefully. Her eyes opened, dark, sharp. And the first thing she did wasn't panic, wasn't fear. She looked at the room, mapping it. Door, window, distance. Then him. Elias didn't move, didn't speak. He let her decide what this was. Friend, threat, something else. Her gaze held his, not weak, not grateful, assessing. That told him everything he needed to know. You're not from around here. Her brow shifted slightly, understanding enough, but she didn't answer. Not yet. Elias leaned back, giving her space. Storm would have killed you. You ran into it anyway. That landed. Her fingers tightened slightly under the blanket. A reaction. He caught it. You weren't lost. You were running. Her eyes flickered, just for a second, then steadied again. Still no answer. That was fine. He wasn't asking. She sat up slowly, careful, every movement measured. Pain still there, but controlled. Elias handed her a cup, water. She hesitated, just a second, then took it. Their fingers brushed, cold but steady. She drank, small sips, watching him the entire time, never looking away. You got a name? He asked. Simple. She swallowed, then, softly, Leanne. The name settled in the room. Different. Foreign. but not fragile. "Elias," he said. That was enough. Silence returned, but it wasn't empty anymore. It was aware. She set the cup down, then reached into the inside of her coat. Elias tensed slightly. Instinct. Her hand emerged, holding something small, wrapped, hidden. Cloth, tightly bound. She looked at it, then at him. A decision. Then she unwrapped it. Inside, paper. Not just paper. Maps, lines, marks, routes. Precise, important. Elias leaned forward, recognition flickering. Rail lines, survey paths, territory markers. Things men killed for. "Where did you get that?" She didn't answer right away, because this was the moment everything changed. "My father," she said. "He worked for them. Frontier Rail Company." Elias's jaw tightened. He knew the name. Everyone did. Men with money, power, and no patience for obstacles. "He tried to leave," she continued. "He tried to keep these." Her fingers tightened around the maps. "They killed him." The words didn't shake, didn't break. They landed, heavy, final. Elias didn't ask how, didn't need to. "They're looking for you," he said. Not a question. She nodded once. "Not just me." A pause. "The maps." There it was, the reason. The storm, the chase, the risk. Elias stood slowly, moving to the window, looking out. White, still, but not empty. Men like that didn't stop, didn't wait. "They'll come," he said, again, not a guess. Leon watched him, carefully. "You don't have to be here when they do." That was the offer, the exit. Take nothing. Leave. Live. Elias didn't turn, didn't hesitate. "They're already coming." That was his answer. No retreat, no distance, just reality. Leon studied him. Different now, because she understood something. He wasn't helping her. He was choosing the fight. Her grip on the maps loosened, just slightly. Not from fear, from acceptance. "Then we prepare," she said quietly. That word mattered. We. Elias finally turned, and for the first time he didn't see a stranger. He saw someone who understood what was coming, and wasn't going to run from it. Outside, the storm began to thin, the sky opening just enough to reveal something far more dangerous than snow. Tracks, movement, and men already closing in. The storm cleared, just enough. Not gone, never gone, but thin enough for the land to show its secrets again. Elias saw them first, dark lines moving across the white, not scattered, not lost, organized, too many to count at a glance. Riders, coming straight toward the ridge. He didn't call out, didn't warn. He just watched, because this was the moment he'd been expecting. Leon stepped up beside him. No hesitation now, no distance. She followed his gaze, saw them. Her fingers tightened slightly. Not fear, recognition. "They found us," she said. Elias nodded once. They were always going to. The riders spread as they approached. Not rushing, not careless. They knew what they were doing. By the time they reached the lower slope, the line had widened, cutting off angles, blocking escape. This wasn't a search, it was a claim. At the center, one rider didn't move like the others. Slower, deliberate. A man who didn't need to hurry. Grayson Holt. His coat dark against the snow. Clean. Untouched. Like the storm didn't apply to him. He reined in his horse. Stopped at a distance. Not too close. Not too far. Enough to talk. Enough to command. "You found something that doesn't belong to you." His voice carried easily. Cold. Measured. No anger. That made it worse. Elias didn't step forward. Didn't raise his voice. "Everything here belongs exactly where it is." That line again. But this time it echoed differently, because now there were dozens of men behind Holt. Holt tilted his head slightly, studying him. Then his eyes shifted, past Elias, to her. Recognition. There you are. Not relief, ownership. Leon didn't step back, didn't hide. She held his gaze. And that was the first mistake Holt noticed. "You've caused a great deal of inconvenience," he said calmly. "All of this," he gestured lightly behind him, "for paper." Leon's voice came steady. "It's not paper. It's truth." A flicker, small but real. Holt almost smiled. Almost. "Truth is expensive." A pause. "And I've already paid for it." Elias shifted slightly, just enough, placing himself fully between them. A line again. "She stays," he said. The men behind Holt stirred. Subtle. Hands near weapons. But Holt didn't move. Didn't react. Not yet. "You misunderstand the situation," he said. "This isn't a request. That girl and what she carries belong to me." That word hung there, heavy. Belong. Leon's jaw tightened. Elias didn't move, didn't blink. Not anymore. That was it. The moment everything shifted. Because Holt understood. This man wasn't negotiating. He was refusing. And men like Holt didn't get refused. He exhaled slowly, then nodded. "Very well, if that's how you want it." He raised one hand, slight, controlled. The men behind him adjusted, spreading wider and circling, not attacking yet. Holt looked at Elias one last time. You're not protecting her. A pause. You're standing in the way of something bigger than you understand. Elias didn't answer, because he already knew that was exactly what he was doing. Holt's gaze shifted again, back to Leon. You had a chance to disappear. You chose not to. Her voice didn't shake. I chose not to run. That answer settled deep. Holt studied her, longer this time, then nodded once. Then we'll see how far that choice takes you. He pulled the reins, turning his horse. The others followed, not retreating, not leaving, just repositioning, setting the field. Elias watched them go, the way they spread across the ridge, the way they held distance, waiting. They're not leaving, Leon said. No, he replied. They're settling in. A siege. Not fast, not loud, but inevitable. The wind picked up again, carrying something new. Not snow, smoke. Elias glanced toward the cabin, then back to the ridge. They'll wait for night. Then they burn it. Leon stood beside him, closer now, no space left between them. Then we don't wait, she said. That caught him. He turned, looked at her, really looked, because now she wasn't the one being hunted. She was thinking like someone who intended to survive and fight. Below them, the men spread across the land like a tightening net, and for the first time, this wasn't about escape. It was about who would still be standing when the night was done. Night came fast, too fast. The last light barely touched the ridge, then vanished, and with it, whatever distance had been left between them. Inside the cabin, the air felt tighter, smaller, not because the walls had moved, because the world outside had. Elias checked the rifle again. Calm, steady. Leanne stood across from him, the maps laid out on the table, not studying the land, studying them. They won't rush, she said quietly. They want us tired, pinned. Then they burn us out. Elias nodded once. That's how I'd do it. That wasn't agreement. That was confirmation. She traced a line across the map. Here, a point near the ridge. They'll light from this side first. Wind carries it faster. He watched her, not questioning, adjusting. Then we break them before that, he said. She looked up, met his eyes. Not all of them. A pause. Just enough. That was the plan. The first shot didn't come loud. It came deliberate. A signal. Then fire. A torch arced through the dark, striking the far wall. Another, then another. Now, Elias moved, rifle up, position set. The cabin shook with impact. Smoke began to crawl along the ceiling. Leanne didn't hesitate. She grabbed a cloth, drenched it, pressed it hard against the window frame. Not stopping the fire, slowing it. buying time. Elias stepped out into chaos. Shots cracked through the night. One man dropped, another fell back, but they kept coming, not rushing, advancing from both sides. The fire climbed higher, heat thickening the air. Leanne turned, eyes scanning. Then she moved to the back wall, dropped to her knees, reached beneath the floorboards. Elias hadn't shown her that, but she had seen, understood. Her hand pulled something out, wrapped, dark. Dynamite. She stared at it for half a second, then stood. Elias ducked behind the fence line. A bullet splintered wood near his shoulder. Too close. They were tightening, closing distance. He needed something to break them. She stepped out beside him, holding it. "Where?" she asked. He looked at her, then at the ridge. "Flank. Closer. Throw it there." No hesitation, she ran, low, fast, not away, through the line of fire. Bullets kicked snow around her feet. Elias fired, again, again. Dropping one, then another, just enough. She reached the edge, pulled the fuse. A second, too long. Then she threw. Then the ground shook. Flames burst upward. Men shouted. The line broke. Not gone, but fractured. That was all he needed. He pushed forward, driving them back, not chasing, forcing space. She stumbled back toward him. I caught her arm, steadying her. For a second, everything slowed. Fire, smoke, wind, and them. "You all right?" he asked. She nodded. That was enough. Behind them, the cabin burned. Too far gone now. The fight wasn't for the house anymore. It was for them. "They'll regroup," she said. "They won't stop." Elias looked back once, at what was left, then forward. We don't give them time. He grabbed what he could, ammo, water. She took the maps, held them tight, not letting go. Together they moved, up the ridge, away from the fire. Behind them the flames climbed higher, lighting the sky. Everything gone. But something had changed. They weren't being chased anymore. They were choosing where the fight went next. The house was lost. The night had taken it. But the moment she lit that fuse, everything shifted. Because now they weren't just surviving the hunt. They were becoming the reason it would end. The fire burned itself out before dawn. Not because it ran out of wood, because there was nothing left to take. Smoke drifted low across the ridge, thin, cold. The cabin was gone, reduced to blackened beams and ash. Elias Crow stood at the edge of it, not moving, not speaking, just looking at what used to be his life. Every board, every nail, every quiet night, gone. Behind him, Leanne approached, slower now, the fight still in her breathing, but steady, controlled. She stopped beside him, not touching, not distant, just there. "You lost everything," she said quietly. Not pity, fact. He exhaled once, low. Had less than most to begin with. That wasn't true. but it was easier than saying what it meant. Silence settled again, the kind that didn't need filling. Then he shifted slightly, a wince, small but real. Leanne noticed. Of course she did. "Sit," she said. He didn't argue, didn't refuse, just lowered himself onto a piece of broken timber. She knelt beside him, hands already moving, checking, assessing. A cut along his ribs, not deep, but bleeding. "You should have told me," she said. He shrugged slightly. "Was busy." That almost made her smile. Almost. She tore a strip from what remained of her sleeve, pressed it against the wound. Firm, not gentle, but careful. He didn't flinch, didn't look away. He watched her. Because now there was no question what she was. Not someone he saved, someone who stood. "Why didn't you leave?" he asked. Not suspicion, something else. Her hands didn't stop. "You didn't," she said. That answer sat between them. Simple, but heavier than anything else. She tied the cloth tight, securing it. Then her hands lingered, just a second, before pulling back. The wind shifted, cooler now, carrying the last of the smoke away, revealing the land again, empty, wide. Elias reached into his coat, pulled out the maps. Still there, untouched. He looked at them, then at her. "Everything they want." She nodded. "And everything they fear." That too. He held them out, to her. She hesitated, just a second. "Why me?" He didn't answer right away, because the truth mattered. "You see the land," a pause, "not just what's on it. That's worth more than anything in those pages." She took them, carefully, not just accepting paper, accepting what came with it. Responsibility. For a moment, they just stood there. No distance left. No roles left to figure out. Only the next step. The sun finally broke through, spilling across the ridge, touching everything, even what had been burned, making it look almost new. "It won't stop," she said. "They'll send more." Elias nodded once. "Then we don't stay here." She looked out, at the open land, then back at him. Where? He considered it, not guessing, choosing. Somewhere they don't own yet. That meant something, more than escape, a different kind of fight. She stepped forward, now fully beside him. No hesitation, no doubt. "Then we take it first," she said. That was the answer. Not running, not hiding. Building something they couldn't burn. Behind them, the last ember faded. The past gone. Ahead, nothing certain. Except this. Two people who had been pushed into the same storm had walked out of it alive. And somewhere between the fire and the morning, they had stopped being strangers. Not because they were saved, but because they chose to stand in what came next together.